Suboxone is looked at as a failure, as a crutch. If it's not fit for you at this time, it's not fit for you at this time. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Dr. B, Dr. B Addiction Recovery. And the topic I want to delve in today is Suboxone versus benzodiazepines, which one to quit or taper off of first. This is really important, and it's an issue many people face out there. And clinically, we are confronted with it daily in my practice, where we have to re-educate the patient, reorient the patient, and then make a decision where everybody's on the same page, the patient's happy, and we feel comfortable. So let's systematically break this down, formalize it, digest it, and then you have some information so you can make a better decision out there and potentially at times even inform your own clinician. First point I want to make, I might be saying Suboxone versus benzodiazepines, which one to taper first, and you might turn around and say to me, hey, Suboxone is indeed an opiate, and I thought you can't be on a benzodiazepine, whether it's Klonopin, Valium, even Xanax, and an opiate at the same time. In fact, my doctor said he will not take me because I need to be on both, or I was taken off of one with a horrendous result, so I can be on Suboxone or I can be on benzodiazepines. False, okay? You can be on both, okay? I don't want to go too deeply into this issue, but I would just simply want to say, A, you can be on both. B, the clinician needs to have the courage of their conviction, but first, an understanding of the pharmacology and the data out there and what this means, and then in a very sober-minded fashion, if it is indicated, to go ahead and initiate care with a benzodiazepine and Suboxone products. So, in short, without going too much into it, and I'll come back and make another video about this, you can be on both. Now, let's get to the meat of the issue at hand. You've been on Suboxone for some time. You've been on benzodiazepines some time. And again, this is a wide range of presentations. I just sort of want to give you the nugget of the situation. And you are, let's take a kind of an example and create a scenario. And it doesn't have to be this, and it might be many variations of this, but I want to make and create an example so you get the point. Let's say you've been on this stuff for like a year, and you're on 2 milligrams of Klonopin twice a day, which is, not a low dose, not a high dose. But you're also on Suboxone, 16 milligrams, 8 milligrams twice a day. And your clinician has had you on this. And you've achieved some sort of stability in your mind. Again, this is from the patient's perspective. And he does suffer from severe anxiety. That's why both of these medications were initiated in the first place. I don't want to get too much into the detail of is it appropriate to be on that particular benzodiazepine on that particular dose for that particular patient. That's not the issue. That issue needs to be resolved with you and your clinician. Nor do I want to get into the details on are you on the right dose of Suboxone at that particular moment? Are you taking the Suboxone the right way? And you know what? The devil is in the details, and this is why people fail when they buy this stuff on the street, because there's quite a bit to the management of this. And have you been on it long enough? How is your life going? I don't want to get into those details as far as answering those questions, but let's just assume there's a patient and he is on both of those medications, 2 milligrams of Klonopin twice a day, 8 milligrams of Suboxone twice a day, so 16 milligrams. And he's coming to the doctor and saying, man, I need to get off these medications. He comes back the next time, man, I need to get off this medication. And the doctor is just kind of looking at this as, okay, he wants to be off meds. He wants to live his life without meds. I need to get off these medications. Let me present a general issue that often presents itself in these situations, okay? One of the issues that presents itself in these situations and triggers the patient to want to be medication free is A, the stigma of medications, in particular Suboxone. That's a huge issue in the social milieu that we operate in as addiction practitioners and as people suffering from substance abuse. Suboxone is looked at as a failure, as a crutch, as the same thing as being on dope, whether it's fentanyl, heroin, oxys, okay? This is always looming in the background for the population and the social environment we work in. Keep that in mind. Two, in that social environment, you have one, the patients, the parents, society at large. Two, the extremely archaic and out of date substance abuse industry in many parts, not all parts. And I'm not accusing everybody of such things, but really a lot of the mom pop treatment centers and even larger ones, a lot of the individuals that practice in these treatment settings and centers come with a predisposed conception, framework, an idea wrongly that addiction is a choice, it's a moral decision. You need to be off of everything, and the only way to do it is be medication free. So get the heck off of the opiates, Suboxone, so forth. Part of this paradigm and worldview is fed by the 12-step inception and conception of addiction. Again, I'm not knocking 12 steps. I think it can do a lot of good for a lot of people. I think it can be an amazing and wonderful support group, but it's not treatment, really. And the folks operating in that space are not specialists or professionals. Nevertheless, it has such tentacles in our view of addiction, in our treatment of addiction. It feeds into a person's self-perception of addiction, as well as the practitioner's perception of addiction. All of this stuff needs to be thrown out the window, and we need to proceed with compassion, scientific literature, and where we need to draw in from these emotional and sometimes distorted views, but you need to draw it in when you need to, let it go when you need to, and take the patient as a whole. And sometimes this is education. So these things are all working hand in hand, oftentimes for the patient, and their idea is, I need to get off of Suboxone. So I need to get off of medications, but first and foremost, I need to get off of Suboxone. And oftentimes in my practice, what I see is patients presenting to me that way. And I also know that they suffer from severe long-time anxiety. They've had a history of benzodiazepine abuse. And my job is to communicate. In addition, they might not even, and so they come in and they're like, I'm going to keep the benzos. I want to taper off of the Suboxone now, first, as quickly as possible. And many situations present this way, and most of those situations, the clinical response should be, you are not ready to taper off the Suboxone. And when I do a risk-benefit analysis of these two medications in your particular life that you're operating in, the stressors, the anxiety, how far you are away from when you first stopped using drugs and being under my care, all of these components, or various ones to various degrees, my answer is very often, and my thought process is very often, listen, when I do a risk-benefit analysis of A, those two medications and what kind of harm they do in the short term and the long term, B, your mental health at this time, given the stressors in your particular life, what I see as either A, let's stay on both of them the same a little bit longer, but if there's one of those medications that I want to consider a taper, and it's going to be a slow, long taper most of the time, not always. Again, please, I'm using a case example to bring out the issue. Let's start with the benzodiazepines. And if you attempt to go with the subs, you will be in here in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks telling me, hey, I just need a little more of this medication, or I'm on Klonopin, but hey, can I get 10 of Xanax this month because I'm tapering off of the Suboxone? Or hey, increase my Klonopin, my Valium. And I run into this situation so often, and we start playing this game back and forth. And it goes on for weeks, for months, oftentimes for years, because the patient is not understanding. In fact, I would even recommend patients not understanding this whole picture, and they have this idea imprinted in their mind from all of the previous issues I brought up a couple of minutes ago, that they need to get off of Suboxone. Wrong. If it's not fit for you at this time, it's not fit for you at this time. If we need to proceed with something, let's proceed with the benzodiazepine in a slow, sober, very, very oriented way given what's going on in your life. And what we need to look at, A, the risk benefit of the medication, your age, how long you're going to be on it, potential for abuse, and increasing one that can have more harm for you versus the other one. And it's always the benzodiazepine. B, okay, you need to understand that after I look at the medication, I look at your physical health. You know, what is the damage to you from each one of these medications? And then C, what is life going to do to you at this time? Because what I should ultimately want as a clinician is A, your physical health, but B, and this is critical if you're practicing in the substance abuse space, even if you're a medical doctor, and if you're not a psychologist, and even if you're not a psychiatrist, I have to send you out of the office with the goal. The goal is not just get you off drugs. The goal is to have, in other areas of medicine, we call them activities of daily living. I expand that concept as, are you engaging in your world in a functional, healthy way that has minimal impact on your processing, emotions, and intrapsychic dynamics? And regular things that in social evaluation that we do, your relationships, your job, your finances. When you take all of those things together and evaluate a risk-benefit thing, then the question is, which one can I taper off of, if any? And almost 100% of the time, I'm going to recommend you taper off the benzodiazepines first. I hope this information helps. I hope it gives you some tools to proceed with your life. I hope it gives you some tools to decrease the concept and the stigmas associated with Suboxone, and you can make a better decision with your clinician. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and potentially please go ahead and utilize our Patreon link, as it will create more content and facilitate our production of videos. Have a great day. See you guys soon. Peace.